Welcome to Talk Dirt to Me, where two farmers shatter myths and take on the top issues facing America's farmers. Here's your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee.
What's going on, everybody?
Yep. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're here in studio trying not to get blown away.
Yeah, a bit breezy out there today. Golly, which I know there's parts of the country where the wind always blows, but we're really not in that part of the country, but you wouldn't know it by today.
What is it, Chicago that's like always windy?
Well, Chicago's the windy city, but you look, I always think about like the Southern Plains, which they were under like extreme wildfire risk. And actually, one of the guys from Farmer Wants a Wife that's out in Oklahoma, they had a bunch of fires.
Really?
I think when she kept updating, he's like, all right, now we're getting ready for round 3. Like you could see the smoke.
Dang.
I think they had made it through the first couple. He was on the season with Allen. I can't remember his
Oklahoma.
name.
Man, with Allen, only one that I remember is Allen and what was it, Hunter?
There was Allen Landon.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
But out there, like it's just normal. I mean, a 25 mile an hour wind is, I think, just a normal Wednesday to them.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, it ruined my plans for today.
You were gonna spray?
I was gonna try to spray, and I could have sprayed like on that end of the field and hoped that it blew and landed over here on this end of the field. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm not gonna be. There's no point in pissing that away.
Yeah, it's currently 30 mile an hour winds with gusts up to 48.
Yeah. I moved my meat chickens, and I had a few things, odd jobs I had to do today, and then I went and pumped some iron.
Well, I was doing jobs. I mean, that the wind didn't really mess me up, but still, and it's warm. It's like, I don't know, was it like 70?
Oh, fencing would be kind of nice.
Yeah, 74 degrees, but no, it's just like, God dang, the wind just, yeah, it's probably temperature-wise, yeah, because otherwise,
better than July.
Yeah, 74 would have been, yeah, in which I was sweating anyway, but
yeah.
I don't know, it's, got a lot of stuff done, got some calves on the way. I should be done buying calves for the year. I hope. That's the guy, I was talking to order buyer, and he's like, how many you want? I was like, well, it's more about how many can I afford. They keep getting higher every week. Like the ones I bought 2 weeks ago. So my brother and I were talking. We're like, you know what? We could keep the ones we just bought, for a few more weeks. Have them all grouped up, good size, and go ahead and put them back on a truck and probably make money.
How much would I got about a 700-pound bull right now. What's he worth?
Right here in these markets, selling him just by himself, be close to $2,000.
That's tempting.
What are you gonna do with him?
My plan was to feed him out.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, if you can do that, go for it.
Now he's pretty big. He's not too big to band though, right? You've banded him pretty big, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd go ahead and get him banded though, sooner rather than later.
Okay.
The sooner the better. I'm about to say, 'cause if you got some that size, we'll weigh them up and I'll buy them from you, or if you want to sell him, you need to put him on the truck when we put ours on the truck, because
he'll bring more in a group.
Yeah, he'll be worth more selling him.
Well,
like
I don't know. It's we still got we got a little bit of beef left, but I'll be needing some beef here soon, so I was gonna try to probably feed him out.
I might buy some from you. I've not had a good week.
Why not? Well, hold on. We'll go into this, but real quick, we need you to do two things before you get to hear what happened. We need you to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Keep leaving us ratings and reviews. We're steadily gaining. We kind of are hitting a little stride. I see a few ratings trickle in every day, just about, or every other day. Let's keep that rolling. I got to thinking actually yesterday, it's about time to do another giveaway. Yeah. We're about to do a giveaway.
Yeah, we need to get some swag made.
Yep.
That's what the kids call it these days.
Swag.
Is that already?
I think that's our crew, didn't they? 93X used to call it like, get your swag. That was back when I was like a teenager.
Okay.
So I think swag. So now it's probably like.
So it's age appropriate.
Yeah. I don't know what they call it now, but yeah, we'll get us some swag made and do some giveaways. And look, if y'all remember, we gave away like a bad of the bone Essie knife. We always do really cool, and then a half-face blade knife. So our giveaways are pretty legit. And I don't know, we'll have to set some goal, like both Apple and Spotify both need to get to like 400 or 500 ratings or something, because Spotify is almost 400, Apple's almost 300, So I don't know. We got to do something. But comment below. Let us know what you think of the show. And hope y'all enjoyed. Seeing we got some good reaction out of Dustin's episode. I told y'all he's a wizard. We got some really cool guests coming up too.
Yeah.
And we got some really cool ones coming. But leave us those ratings, reviews, and what else they need to do.
Yeah, check out agzaga.com. I was actually just pulling up their website because I'd gotten a text earlier. If you sign up and create an account, they don't just blast you with text. I can look. You get like 1 or 2 a week, and it's always about good deals. They're not going to spam the hell out of you. All kinds of deals, like on seasonally appropriate things, garden hoses, Flexilla hoses. Of course, Logan and I got all kinds of tickled talking about the length of
I think
the hose I ordered.
Actually, the Instagram reels that I'm putting up right now, the one that'll drop tomorrow is that from that.
Well, I got mine in. Those in like no crap. Like I'm not BSing you. Like they are like, in my opinion, the highest quality like just garden hose you can get. They don't get all brittle and crack on you like the real cheap ones.
Yeah,
you get like at the dollar store. They got some good deals on that sort of thing on sale right now. Bailnet wrap, I mean, again, that's their bread and butter. That's where they kind of made their name. You won't beat their prices. The shipping is unbelievably fast and cheap, and it's always on sale. Everything's 10% off when you use that discount code. Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word.
Yep. We got some interesting stuff for this week. I was going to do a lot of Q&As. We got a lot of them, and that was one thing I forgot to mention. Submit your questions, guys. Go to our website, talkdirtpodcast.com. Go to the contact page. Submit your question on there. It goes to the email. We can keep up with it, and we got some all the way back into pretty early February. But we like to kind of let them pile up and get them. So what's happened?
Well, the week, I guess if you consider Sunday the first day of the week, like I do, started out bad. I had a cow. She actually prolapsed on Friday.
Oh, man. You love a good prolapse.
And actually, it was not a terrible one. I put it back in, no problem. Stitched her up. Vaginal prolapse. Saturday, she was kind of trying to push out a little bit of a rectal prolapse, which, of course, I was talking to my dad because he has a lot more cow vet experience than I do. And he's like, yeah, she's just straining. And it wasn't bad. Sunday it was a little worse, like, but she was starting to look bad, like wasn't doing good. I got it pushed back in, couldn't get her back up in the barn, but she was kind of, weak enough. She would just let me. Had decided I was like, because I talked to him more about it, like at church or after church, and it's like, he's like, before I'd let her die, I'd go ahead and induce her. We knew she was real late in gestation, just because I'm nearing the end of calving anyway. Got all my stuff to get her induced, and when I turned, she was dead.
Dang, really?
But then, I mean, that one didn't shock me. I mean, I didn't.
So I'm assuming, do you think was the calf stillborn or something?
No, I mean, the calf should have been viable. And that's where I was like, well, let's go ahead and at least get the calf out of her. It should be far enough along. It'll be okay. And then once she has the calf, we can make sure the prolapse, and they might both be okay. If I can save one or both of them, I mean, even if I just save one of them, that's better than losing them both.
This was before she was dead, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
And but then kind of the cherry on top, why I may be short on beef, one of mine that's on feed was dead yesterday morning. I've never lost one that I had on feed.
What caused that?
I don't know. It was actually a heifer. I've got 7 steers and 2 heifers on feed, or I had 2 heifers. My wife usually feeds them in the evenings just because, well, now I get home before dark because time has changed. But
she put some Timic in there?
No, because all the other ones were fine. So I was asking her, because I don't really expect her to like check them super close. I have the buckets already out there. She just has to dump them out basically. And it's like, did you notice anything weird on Tuesday or on Monday evening, I guess? And then she's like, no. And they don't all always come in there to eat immediately, but yeah, she was dead because I got to looking because it was dark Tuesday morning, and I was like, well, she's usually one of the first ones up here, and she wasn't. It wasn't like she got laid down in a bad spot. I don't know. So,
are you gonna send her blood off or anything?
No, and I didn't necropsy or anything. I mean, it was Tuesday morning. I was, needing to I had to get kids to school, get to work, and everything else. And
dang.
So yeah, I'm which all my beef customers, if any of y'all are listening, don't worry. I had 9 on feed. I had 8 completely sold and spoken for.
So you just don't need no more to die.
Oh no! If I lose another one, I'm gonna have to. Somebody ain't gonna get beef, which nobody's paid me. They're gonna left me any deposits or anything like that. Which I just.
Dang, that sucks.
I'm not gonna, which I will, because I had a cow that aborted a calf like back in January, and so I was already like, I need to ask them to see if they can give me another kill date, and just should be a bunch of ground beef. Although I didn't at the time. I was like, well, I don't need a lot more ground beef. I'll probably have them keep the steaks out of it. That's my current plan. It's like, yeah, that's just, rather than me keeping a fat steer to put in my own freezer, I'll be eating she's not a real old cow, but I'll be eating a cow.
Well, I wonder what the hell made her die.
I don't know. Part of me does wonder, like, did she get, because she wasn't, I don't know, maybe she got down and bloated. That's the best guess I can come up with. Of course, a young heifer that was on feed, and I don't know. And part of me is like, well,
was she on her side, blowed up when you found her?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but it looked more like, she had just laid down like she normally would. And but I got to figure it out. I feed out somewhere between, well, now, last few years I've been feeding out exactly 9, just because that number works out good for us. But probably over the years I've fed right at 100, and I've lost 1. So I'm like a 1% death loss.
That's pretty good.
Like, that's most people are probably gonna say, yeah, that's, you're gonna expect that. If you're gonna have livestock, you'll have dead stock. And, but yeah, man, it's like, damn.
Yeah, that sucks. And 2 in 1 whammy there. Yeah. So the calf was the calf dead?
I did go ahead and cut her open, because she hadn't been dead long. I mean, she was alive before we went to church. She was dead after we got done with church and eating lunch. And I've done that before when one has just died, and just to see if there's any chance. But no, the calf was dead. Yeah.
Man, yeah, you did have a crap shoot there. That sucks.
Crap start to the week. So
yeah.
And cattle are worth right now more than they ever have been. I was kind of doing the math in my head.
How much of a loss that was?
Yeah.
What was that about?
A cow that was about to be a cow-calf pair, and then another one that was about to be
like $5,000 or $6,000.
Oh, it was probably, if that one had gone ahead and had her calf and been a pair, and then what I pretty much could have said, pretty much exactly what that other one would have weighed, and I'm selling by carcass weight. Yeah, you're probably looking at least 6,000.
Yeah. That sucks, man. Dang. Well, it can't get a lot worse.
I don't know. Like I say, I've got all those calves coming in out of the sale barn. They start dropping over dead. Oh, buddy. Because at least those are all paid for. It's not like I'm not going to be able to pay my bills because of that. But, these that I'm buying, with borrowed money, I don't need them to start dying.
No.
Which, I mean, it all ends up coming out of the same pot eventually. So it's still a $6,000 hit.
That sucks, man. That does. Dang. Well, yeah, I mean, that's cattle. Well, like I said, man, I guess if you're going to have livestock, you're going to have dead stock. That's a pretty good quote. I've never heard that before. Dang, well, my week hadn't been like that. I actually, the kids, they're on spring break, and so yesterday we took them to Reelfoot Lake. They had never been. I had not been since I was about 9 years old, and saw some bald eagles. That's always like, I'm like, we got to see some eagles at Reelfoot. And saw some of them, kind of just had a good time, ate some good food and frog legs when we were out there. And that's about it. I've worked on the sprayer. I'm having electrical issues out of the sprayer.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I got to get that figured out. And my goal was to spray today. Oh, actually, I was going to start burning down. But yeah, it's literally 50-mile-an-hour gusts sometimes. Before we read some of these questions, there was a little tip I was going to share. People are always asking, like, man, how can I pick up some ground? And nothing has come out of this yet, but I may have tapped into a pretty valuable resource on picking up some land today. And I was going to kind of share this as a tip for the younger guys or listener or whatever. I mean, I don't care what your age is if you're just trying to pick up ground. Something I've kind of learned, and this is what I've always told people, but it's like, tell people that you need land, that you're looking for land. And I've got some ground that the owner had passed away, and like basically a firm is now managing. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, great, because then you're like dealing with just the paperwork and everything gets a lot more, because I've had to deal with this in the past.
So like an investor group bought the land?
No, actually, it's this person died, and there's a family member that's I guess more or less inherited it, but they're older and they don't know what to do, so they've got like a law firm essentially that's just handling the management, and they're gonna eventually sell the farm, but right now that's just what they're doing. And I've seen this a lot of times. Yeah, it's older people, or like the solar farms. When I was working that ground, they had like basically a law firm that was handling it. And when I lease some ground, a lot of times my lease is a one-page, pretty simple lease. It's got a start date, an end date, how much, and all that. Farm number, county. That's about it. Our signatures. And dealing with guys like this, you're gonna get sometimes a 5-page lease, and it's got all kinds of crap in it. And so I was kind of dreading this, but the dude called me today and he was like asking me, they're increasing the rent on me, which I was paying lower rent. This is not a superb farm. This is pretty mediocre ground. And he was like, man, do you mind if we'd like to go up on rent, because if they put it out to sell, they want to be able to say this is how much rent you can get off the place. And I said, yeah, that's fine, that's all right. So they went up in rent. It was not a crazy number, and me and him got to talking, and I said, man, y'all have any? I said, do you ever have any other ground you deal with? I said, because dude, I said, I need some more ground. I said, I need about 500 acres. I said, I just need to spread some costs. And he said, yeah, actually we manage several other pretty big pieces of ground in your area. And I was like, really? And I mean, and these are like we got to talking, some of them are like,
whatever they're paying, I'll go 10% higher.
Yeah.
Just running up rent.
Yes. But I was surprised, like he mentioned it. I mean, these were pretty big blocks of ground. I mean, it'd be the biggest blocks of ground that I've got.
Did the other farmers giving up, or just?
No, it's the lease expires pretty soon. And and to be honest, it's a guy working it that I wouldn't be bothered to go after. So
not a dear friend.
It's not a friend of mine for sure. And so I was like, okay, all right. But I say all that to say, and I didn't tell him I'd pay more rent, because honestly, the person that's got is probably paying ungodly rent now anyways. But needless to say, we struck up the conversation, and I said, I'd like just the opportunity. I said, if you have some ground that's available and you decide to change or something, I'd love the opportunity to work it. I said, I really need the ground. And the dude was like, man, yeah, definitely. He said, I'll put together a little packet and kind of show you what all the ground is we have. And it got me thinking. It's like, man, I think a lot of people just don't tell people they're needing ground. And it's like a weird thing. And most of the ground that I've acquired over the years has been from other people helping me out. Like, it's been because I've told somebody like, man, I really need to pick up some more ground, and they'll hear of some ground or this. So I just urge people, like, it sounds really simple, but I think a lot of times the simple stuff is like really overlooked.
Well, and a lot of like that landowner had no idea what to do. And a lot of that, especially a lot of the farming communities are smaller communities, rural areas. And that word of mouth and just that network, is really where it comes from.
Yep.
Not really the same thing at all, but I've got some more hay ground this year, and it was because the farmer, the guy that was cutting the hay on it, gave it up. The landowner knows our family.
Okay.
He talked to your dad about them farming it, taking it out of hay production, farming it.
Yeah.
But gosh, I'm almost surprised they even considered it, because it's hills, it's very little flat ground on it. And your dad was like, they were going to, but then he called me. He's like, hey, it's not a big block of ground anyway, because if it was, I wouldn't have been able to cut the hay on it. I'm not looking to pick up 500 acres of hay.
Is it 16 acres?
No, it's close to 50.
Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah,
that's a good hay ground, man.
And your dad was like, he called me. He's like, he's like, this farm really is more suited to being hay. I was like, let me think about it. Because he said, he's like, look, we just assume you cut the hay off of it as us plant soybeans on it.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and it's really close. Like it's like.
Had it been hay already?
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
so I was like, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I can't hardly say no to that. Location is everything to me.
Yeah.
I just don't have time to.
I know where you're talking about now. Yeah, it ain't
Yeah.
10 minutes from your house.
Oh, it's a mile and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can run there in 10 minutes. Well,
Yeah.
I could have it one time.
I was gonna say I could not. I could not do that.
But yeah, just stuff like that, and that kind of fell into my lap. I wasn't even looking to pick up more hay ground, but I was kind of like, I can't hardly say no. It's just so close, and it's good ground, good hay.
Yep.
But anyway.
But that's the thing, man. You know, you put it out there that you're actively looking for ground, and let people know. And I don't know, man. That's what I do. I tell people all the time. I mean, I don't care if they're a seed rep, a chemical rep, a banker, a lawyer. Like if in conversation, if they're talking and land somehow comes up, I'm like, hey, if you know of any land that's available to lease or something, I'm looking. I'm really looking.
What about your mafia buddy?
I don't know. I need to ask him some more.
Yeah.
Like he's got some really tight connections. They should be having a little party. I usually get invites to his little party here soon, and
if you like find a dead body out there, you just
I just act like I don't see it. Yeah,
or do you just work it right into the ground?
You just work it into the ground.
Yeah,
that's fertilizer. Yeah.
Just don't ask any questions.
Yeah, don't ask, don't tell. You know, like the military, I guess, or they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that was about the gay stuff in the military. I think,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I don't think that was about killing anybody. Yeah, but no. Yeah, man, networking is everything. I think it's everything in everything.
Yeah,
it's all about who you know. All right, so we got some emails here I want to hit on. And this first one comes from Zach. I don't think I've done this one already. If I have, then just tell me. So this is Zach. He says, so last week y'all answered a question. This, for spoiler alert for some of you, this was not last week. This came in mid-February. Last week, y'all answered a question about expanding a cow herd in this market. Would it be worth buying dairy cows / heifers and breeding to a beef bull? Should be able to get dairy cattle cheaper. Also, when are y'all going to have a chicken farmer on? I help my uncle run his 7-house farm, so I'd love to hear how other people run their chicken houses. I've been talking to a chicken farmer, and we're trying to get that lined up.
That's somebody who I would love to have on.
Yep.
Yeah, now...
I know Dad used to buy some dairy calves.
Actually, I was talking to someone about that the other day. Yeah, they would buy bottle calves and graze them or grow them out. Which, what I was talking to a buddy of mine about, you rarely see Holstein steers anymore.
Yeah,
because if they're going to keep heifers like that, they need to build back their cow numbers. It's all artificial insemination. They use sexed semen.
Okay.
So they've removed all the male semen, and so they can pretty much guarantee that if they say they got a cow and they're like, all right, we definitely want to keep a heifer calf out of this cow, they breed it to semen that they know is going to give them a heifer calf.
Wow. Okay. So
I don't know, it's not like 100%, but it's pretty much all their heifers are going to be Holsteins. If they're not, if it's a cow where they just want a terminal breeding where it's like, the calf is just going to be, fed out to beef, they've gotten smart, and they cross all those Holsteins with usually Angus semen or Simmental or
get a little good beef quality in there.
Well, and they use that black genetics, and so they get a black calf, and those they feed really well. They're half Holstein, half Angus or whatever, half beef breed, so as far as just buying Holstein heifers that a dairy, is getting rid of. I don't even know. I guess, he said they would be a little cheaper. Maybe they would. I can't speak intelligently on that.
Yeah.
The big thing I would worry about, because like I had a Jersey heifer or cow at one time. I bought her to be a nurse cow whenever I had a bottle calf. Because she was cheap. She was really cheap. I was like, that's a whole lot cheaper than buying milk replacer.
Did you ever try any of her milk?
Oh, I milked her like one time.
Straight from the teat?
No, I took it inside and poured it through the cheesecloth to
get some of the chunkiness out of it.
Well, and just because there's a little bit of,
little shit and stuff in there.
Well, just because I wouldn't didn't know what I was doing. It was little bits of dirt and stuff. But no, that was not something not an endeavor I was gonna pursue long term. You got to feed the hell out of them. But somebody may correct me on that, but because they're putting so much energy into milk production.
Yeah, they're a bag of bones and then big tits, basically,
well,
like their udders.
That's what they should look like. Like a dairy cow doesn't look like a beef cow, nor should they.
That's a weird thing for me because, a
lot of people think they're being like abused. Like, no, that's a dairy cow in normal condition.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's a good endeavor long term. Now, if you had some Holstein crosses, say, well, like you say, they're breeding them to beef semen, and I don't know if I'm just now thinking of this. If they would use sex semen and guarantee they get bull calves at that point, my assumption is they don't. They just breed them to, conventional beef semen. That's they get a bunch of heifer and bull calves.
Yeah.
Those might, if you could get them a little cheaper. Now, a lot of times those calves don't sell a lot cheaper. I don't know. Generally, my recommendation would be now is not the time to be building your herd. Beef cattle, is historically very cyclical. Just wait a couple of years and this thing's going to come back down. I don't know. You're starting to see more and more people say that now that these prices are going to stay high.
Yeah.
And they've been getting higher the last few weeks, which is grass is coming on. Feeder cattle should be getting higher. They typically do this time of year. But like I was actually going to go to a heifer sale on Saturday, this past Saturday, which I guess I'm not taking my own advice about. Don't. I can tell you at that sale, which this was kind of a premium, bred heifer sale. I didn't end up going because of the terrible storms we were having.
Yeah.
Probably good that I didn't, because pairs brought 3,500 on average. Breds brought 3,400, which I'm like, hell, you should have just brought the pairs then.
Yeah.
For only an extra $100, you're guaranteed a live calf. Open heifers, which most of these would have been breeding age, ready for a bull, averaged I think 2,400.
Yeah.
Man, that's just a lot of money. And I see there's more and more people having herd sellouts, because I think it's probably some guys that are nearing retirement.
They've been thinking about it probably for a few years.
Yeah, don't have a next generation. They're tired, they're worn out. If they're like most cow-calf guys around here, it's already just a side job.
Yeah.
It seems like just about every weekend. I think the sale barn that I've bought those calves out of today, it's either that one or another local one's having a special cow sale, herd sell out this Saturday.
Really?
But and used to, you could get some deals sometimes at those, but right now there's no deals to be had.
Yeah.
But that said, if the market, we're in the cow-calf world, we're just now catching up with inflation. Like,
yeah,
we act like, oh yeah, we're doing great. Like, no, we're now just doing like we should be doing. Like, we if you look back, what cattle prices were 50 years ago versus what they are today, we have not even remotely kept up with inflation.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, the fundamentals may be there to where this thing stays high, and yeah, it may not be a situation where you can wait 3 or 4 years and the market comes back down. I hope that's true, just because I'm somebody who I'm long on cattle right now, just because I'm in the business already.
Yeah.
But if I could find a deal on some, which if you find some real cheap, there's a problem probably right now. So
yeah,
I don't know. And we're buying these super high dollar sale barn calves right now, feeder steers, and which we're hedged with an LRP. The buyer was texting me earlier, said, I hope these weren't too high, which he didn't tell me exactly what I paid. I'll find out when the truck gets here. But I was like, man, I just hope they stay high for a few more months.
Well, I think this one of the things about this year, I know in the row crop and probably even in the cattle side, this is like the year of insurance. I know a lot of row crop guys, after the hit we took last year, they're increasing their coverage and changing, because I can tell you, I had whole farm insurance, and it's basically just a blanket insured over the entire operation. And I've changed it this year to, I think they call it enterprise units, where each individual farm is insured and it has a set bushels, because The bad part about it's more expensive. Enterprise is more expensive, and I actually increased my percentage of coverage. So I'm going to be paying more for insurance. But like on the whole farm thing, what inevitably would happen, I'd have one farm that would bomb. It'd cut like 25. And then I'd have another farm that would cut like 60. And this farm...
on bean yields.
Yep, on beans, yep. And on this 60 one, it would yield so high that it would knock the whole farm out of that.
It's just your average across the board.
Yep. And so that's where the nice thing with Enterprise is, it's like all my beans could average 100 bushel an acre, and this one field average below, and you could have a claim and still receive like a payment or coverage on that farm. So, and with cattle, like say LRP. So I don't know. I think that the stakes are so high that this is a year for insurance.
Yeah. Insurance is an interesting thing because my general thought on insurance, period, just whether you're talking about...
is it's a racket.
Right. They're not selling you insurance so that they have to pay you money. So that you come out ahead. I'm talking about, car insurance, life insurance, whatever. Health insurance even, which that's a whole other thing.
Especially health insurance.
Now the difference is, and I don't know about those specifics, like on our LRP, that insurance, and our PRF, again, livestock risk protection and pasture, range, and forage, maybe, which basically just rain insurance for your pasture land. It's subsidized. That's how.
I thought it was the farm and grass insurance.
Farm and grass? What?
Yeah, the FAG insurance. I thought that's what y'all...
That'd be good, yeah. Yeah.
FAG. We need to tell them.
We need to tell William Lee, like, hey, recommend to your guys that let's change the PRF to the FAG.
Yeah, can we get some FAG insurance on there?
Farm and grass. But it's subsidized. And that, if it wasn't subsidized, I don't know that I would buy it.
Yeah. It would have to. They'd have to come down because that's the same with crop insurance.
I'm really sticking my neck out there. I'm borrowing. I mean, I'll see how much these calves bought, but I'm going to have somewhere close to $100,000 borrowed in cattle, which is, I know, sounds like pennies compared to what y'all borrow to put in, a bean or corn crop. But enough where like just something disastrous happened, like, oh shit, like I'm gonna be digging the couch cushions to pay back a loan, kind of thing. But it is subsidized. That's how the people that farmers get all these subsidies. Well, that's
where the most of the subsidies
we don't
go.
actually get money.
Yeah,
they help us pay for our insurance. But like the PRF, I've never once, and I've only been doing it 4 or 5 years. I've never once been able to collect on that, which is fine. It's just there because it makes it a little easier to sleep at night, knowing if World War III breaks out in the markets, because it's all LRP is all just about the markets.
Yeah,
if the market crashes, you're protected.
Well, the nice thing on crop insurance versus other insurance is, and this is where it kind of sets it apart, where I'm not anti crop insurance, because crop insurance, if you make a claim, your costs don't increase. I don't know if I'm sure LRP is the same way. Hell, if you have a car wreck and you make a claim, your
they're
insurance,
like, you son of a bitch, you weren't supposed to actually need this stuff that I sold you. I sold this to you on the assumption that you would never actually cash in on it. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, it goes back to, and I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's like, whoa.
That's why I have you.
I have this for this exact situation.
Yeah. Well, and crop insurance stuff is not like that. Like, crop insurance, they're like, man, hey, if you have a thing that you think if your yields are low or whatever, submit a claim and we'll just see. We'll see, and it does not change your cost. So that is a nice thing on there about it. But Zach, appreciate you writing in, man. Hopefully that answered your question. Let us know what you end up doing. I'd like to hear it. Now, let me see. Let me find the next one here. All right. This comes in. I may have... Okay, we've read this one. We've read that one. All right. Now, bear with me, guys. I'm digging through the emails. All right, here we go. We got another one. Okay, this comes from Justin. Justin says, this message is for Bobby Lee. Could I get your feed ration for your freezer beefs? I've been selling freezer beef for years and always use commodity mix from a feed mill. I'd like to see if I could feed cheaper using your ration. Thanks. Feel free to email. All right, I'll text you this email.
Send me his email. Yeah, can't guarantee they won't die.
Yeah. All right.
No, in all seriousness, like I say, I've used that exact feed plan for.
Yeah, he may hear this episode and be like, hey, I don't know.
No, I mean, honest to God, I've fed probably close to 100 out over the last, 10, 12 years, and I've lost one. So.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Appreciate you writing in, man. I've sent that to Bobby Lee. He'll get that to you. All right, next one comes in from Ethan. Hey, fellas, I took the risk and bought some stocker calves to raise a while back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, sweetheart deal.
If you bought them a while back, you're probably in better and you're still holding on to them. The market's probably in pretty good shape.
He's probably doing all right because he said he got a sweetheart deal from the in-laws. So he got a good deal. Bobby Lee, I'm wondering the pounds per head you feed on your penned up animals. These are going to a preconditioned sale March 26th. Okay, you got a little time. Love the show.
And I don't know that we're helping him out much. As we sit here and record, which this will come out on the 21st.
Yeah.
He's only going to have 5 days to take
he can pour it to him. Love the show. And as far as the great debate on the old tractors versus new, I'll stick with the old deers, soul son. Keep it real from East Texas. Hey, you stick with them old ones, and I'll bring a 8R 340 down there, and we'll hook them up and see what happens. All right. What do you...
So... On our stockers, we don't keep them pinned up. I like they're out on grass because I know he had mentioned that.
Because Bobby Lee is a grass-fed, grass-finished only kind of guy.
Well, some people do dry lot them, and they're just feeding them now. They're probably grinding some feed, with hay mixed in or some silage, and then there's a way to do that, especially if you have the source. For a cheap feed, you've got some byproduct nearby, that you're getting, in bulk at a, a really good price.
Yeah.
So for ours that are out on grass, we'll supplement them. Kind of a starting point's about 1% of their body weight. So if we're buying them at 600 pounds, we'll feed about 6 pounds of feed per head per day. Which is getting to be a chore because, I have 60 head right now. I'm about to add just 18 more, but if you figure 80 times 6, it's nearly 500 pounds of feed that I'm
feeding a day,
basically by hand.
Jeez.
I mean, I get it bulk in my bins, but I don't have like a feed box on my truck that you
need a feed box on your truck.
Well, and my issue is though, I don't have like a. Because a lot of people have a bunk line, where they come up.
They can go and dump it in there.
So you can drive along it. Mine are out on pasture, and they may be in this pasture today, another one tomorrow, and whatnot. And so I'm just driving out there. If it's muddy, I take my Jeep. If it's dry enough, I'll take my truck. And
yeah,
it's a lot of 5-gallon buckets.
That is a lot of 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, and then I have my mobile feed bin that I can move around and keep it there close by. Again, if it's not too muddy for me to get it to where they are. And I'll park it there and then move it. So, yeah, I think that's a good kind of start number. Now, you don't want to just start out at that. I kind of, like these new calves we get in, we'll kind of slowly work them up to that 1% of their body weight. But
yeah.
I don't know. In the past, we have not done that. We have fed, heck, I've only fed like 3 or 4 buckets of feed, which, maybe 100 pounds to that 60 to 80 head. And, just enough to keep them coming to a feed bunk so I can catch them. But we're hoping they gain twice as much, per day.
Yeah.
Feeding them like we're planning on doing this year. And feed, especially if you're getting it in bulk, is cheap right now.
Yeah. Okay. There you go, man. Ethan, appreciate you writing in. Hope that helps you out. And, hey, man, I like the old deers just like I like the new deers. All right. Next question comes in from Mylan. Mylan, I think I pronounced your name right. You can give me hell if I didn't. That's Mylan, ain't it?
Yeah, that's or Mylan, Tennessee.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Mylan, Tennessee is just just up the road from us, not too far.
Yep. He said, I listened to your guys' podcast episode talking about the Big Four's baby brother who wanders around in cowboy boots. Oh, yeah, I remember this is a good one. Who wanders around in cowboy boots and tips his hat to ranchers, then advocates for policy that would hurt them behind their back. Oh, my bad, I meant the NCBA. I'm currently writing an op-ed advocating for the passing of the Prime Act proposed by Thomas Massey. I know pretty well that Farm Journal or any of the others like Western Ag Network probably won't publish it since it goes against NCBA.
Won't touch it because they get advertising dollar. It's such a racket.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
Well, he said, I recall you guys talking about a publication that would publish controversial ag topics like this. What was that?
He's probably talking about the
RCAF or something?
Well, RCAF would definitely. But
well, let me finish. He said, I was wondering if I could get in contact with them and see if they'd be interested in publishing my op-ed. Thank you, Rad, for the brand.
Now, that is awesome. Because that was something I was like, I want to do it. I'm not a writer, though.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated writing in school. It was the coffee. Was it Black Rifles magazine?
Are you talking about Free Range American?
Yeah.
I bet they would.
Because you had me kind of halfway inspired there for a little while. I was like, man, if I was any good at this.
Well, you need, well, I've said you need to because I'm buddies with the editor.
Yeah.
Or the publisher.
That's the one he's talking about, I'm pretty sure.
I got a guy that, let me make a note here. And I had that, Michael, you remember Michael Shea that I had on Living Fully Loaded?
I don't remember that one specifically, yeah.
He's like the chief editor or something for Free Range American.
Yeah,
I'll make a note.
I'll go into a little more detail. So, the racket and what is so, it pisses you off so bad. I'll give a shout out to another podcast, Lonesome Lands, with Shad Sullivan and Jim Mundorf. Do an excellent job pointing out the hypocrisies, not just the NCBA, but the beef checkoff, because the beef checkoff is a mandatory system. Anytime cattle are bought or sold, even if they're not in the sale barn, you're required to pay into it. That money then gets, and the NCBA gets the vast majority of it. It's a huge chunk, and it's tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
The beef checkoff will then use that money. They'll advertise. It's so stupid, but you'll see beef, it's what's for dinner, ads in Farm Journal. And like these stupid, like, why are you're preaching to the choir?
Yeah.
But they use that money to then fight against things like the Prime Act. But yes, you won't find articles questioning the integrity or the viability or the necessity of the beef checkoff at any of the major ag publications, because they're all controlled. They pat each other's backs. The Lonesome Land guys do a much better job explaining that and breaking it down, but it's just a huge racket. But yeah, Thomas Massey, I've yet to find an issue, certainly within ag, where I disagreed with him.
Well, and I hated because, him
and Trump get into it.
I was going to say they took some heat with each other because Thomas didn't like the bill because he felt he's kind of like the RCAF.
Oh yeah,
that.
Thomas Massey is.
I like him.
Pretty damn hardcore libertarian.
Yeah.
He's America first all the way.
Yep.
Like, he really pissed Trump off during his first term because there was during the COVID crap, one of the relief bills or whatever. He was like, no, and it was something where they had all been like dismissed. I listened to, I believe it was when Thomas Massey was on with Tucker Carlson, and it was something where if like one person showed up, like they had to like call everybody back and vote.
Yeah.
He was like, I got in my car and drove my ass from Kentucky back to DC. He's like, I was not going to let that happen. And because it was just, it was bullshit spending.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. Like, even though he's a Republican, Trump was obviously a Republican president.
Oh, he's not a line, like he's not towing the line. He's going to go by his values.
No, and so many, or not Republicans, politicians, period. Like, Oh yeah, if it's
They towed the party line.
if Kamala had been president, every Democrat would have voted for everything she put up, and every Republican would have fought it, no matter what it was.
Yeah.
And without even actually seeing, is it this good or bad for us, whatever. So anyway,
Yeah.
no, I'm a big Trump fan, but generally speaking, when Trump and Massey are at odds on something, I mean, I need to read into it and really research it.
But you probably side more with Massey.
But I'm going to go into that thinking, Trump, you're probably doing something. We're probably spending some money that we don't need to be spending if Thomas Massey's against it.
No, I'm with you. I'm the same. All right, this comes in from Derek. He said, hey, I enjoy listening to the podcast. I just recently discovered you guys. I was listening to an older podcast and realized that Bobby deals with travel ball. How in the world do you keep up with that and the farm? I have a daughter in travel ball and a son starting t-ball. I find it difficult.
Bro, my son's now in coach pitch is the only difference.
Yeah.
A year ago and 2 years ago, I was in the exact position.
He said, me and my father raise beef cattle and farm 190 acres. Hold on, he sent two. He said, sorry, hit submit before. So they farm 190 acres. I just find it very difficult to make it to games and get farming done. I made a rule with my wife that it's an overnight tournament. We can't go because I'm the one who does the feeding of the cattle and don't always have someone dependable to fill in for a day. It really sucks because I'm torn both ways because my daughter is really good. Starting pitcher and leads the team in home runs. Marcy and I, that's what we're like. Ain't no chance we're doing the travel ball.
So I have kind of tried to make a rule in that I do not miss games because of the farm, and I don't know if he has. The farm is my side job. Like my
I don't know if he said that he does it.
My bread primarily gets buttered in the veterinary clinic, and I mean, I really don't. I would recommend anybody, whether it's your primary job or not. Kids ain't kids long.
Yep.
I mean,
hence why
our time with them is fleeting.
Spring break, they're mine are on spring break, and there's a lot of shit I need to be doing right now. I took them to Real Foot Lake yesterday. And yes,
I won't say I've never missed a game because of the farm, but hay season is when it really starts to catch up with me. And thankfully we've only ever done a very few overnight tournaments. Ours are almost always, we leave the house at between 5 and 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and we don't get home until midnight. And that does make it tough because like I'm getting up at 4 o'clock to feed in the dark, and I just have to do it. And then and then you feed really late when you get home, or if you're in a situation where you're only having to do things once a day, and that's tough. My wife, when it comes to softball, and my daughter pretty much does all the getting her to practice during the week, which a lot of times during the week it's more my day job that's keeping me away. Which on the t-ball or now the coach pitch with my son, I do help coach, but we're still just playing rec ball there. So it's 2 or 3 days a week with him, but it's never an all day. You're gone, from before sunlight until midnight to a softball tournament. So I don't know, man. It's like this weekend, actually my daughter has a softball tournament, but then one of my first cousins is also getting married, and so I'm gonna miss the tournament, but it's not because of the farm, which I'm actually gonna get more done on the farm because of the wedding.
Because you won't be at the tournament all day?
Well, and I'm gonna have to be overnight at the wedding, but we're not gonna leave until like noon on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we'll be gone in less than 24 hours, so I'll have time to get all my stuff done in the daylight Saturday morning, including processing these new calves we're bringing in. At least that's my plan. Get on the road by noon, and we'll probably leave by. Heck, and my mom's already going to be there, so I'm riding with me and my son around with my dad. So he's like, I want to leave early Sunday morning, so we'll be on the road probably no later than 7. Heck, we'll be back home well before lunch on Sunday.
Yeah.
And now they'll be back Saturday night, probably by midnight. Just depending on how many games they win if they keep playing. But man, I try to keep that rule. But again, the difference is y'all may be doing a lot more overnight tournaments. Most of ours are, which we've got a few overnights coming in. And I don't know, like
Yeah, but I mean, they'll drive to Florida to play the Munford team up here.
We played one tournament at the beach a couple of years ago, but I mean that was just kind of like our summer vacation.
Yeah.
I've got some good help. I got a couple of buddies that, and whatnot that'll check on things for me if we do have to, leave a Friday night and don't get back till Sunday. A couple nights out of town. Man, yeah, it makes it a challenge. Yeah, hay season is when it really gets tough because it's like I'm a one-man show a lot of times. I will get somebody to help me rake, but if I cut hay on my off day on Wednesday, I usually let it lay there and then I'll get it up on Saturday. And if we have a tournament on Saturday, and especially if there's a little rain in the forecast for Sunday, that might be a situation where I'm like, I'm sorry, baby.
Yeah.
But I've seen some other people like on I'm not real active on X, but I follow a lot of other farmers, and a lot of those guys are like, look, that crop will be there.
Yeah.
The kids won't always be there. Like you can get off the tractor to go to the ball game, and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I've tried to take that to heart and not, especially missing a game. My wife, she gets her to all her practices and whatnot, but I do the same with her son because I'm helping coach, so obviously I need to be there for those.
Well, that's what I think that. I think that you nailed it on the fact that, one, they're not going to be kids forever, and then the crop will be there. And I know that's a hard thing for farmers because it's like when it's hammer time, it's hammer time. And I know like which, it's kind of funny, like our generation, and I've seen this, fathers in our generation spend significantly more time with their children than previous generations. And then I think that generation spent quite a bit more time with their kids than the previous generation.
I remember one day I was at church and I was changing a diaper on one of our kids. I think it was my oldest, and an older gentleman there, and he was probably late 80s, early 90s. He was like, son, he's like, that's one thing I never did. And I mean, he was like, he was like, it's good for you,
yeah.
kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, and that just dynamic has changed,
Well, that's
used to when I mean, when, and I don't, what his wife did, but yeah, a lot of times, back 100 years ago, the woman didn't work. Not outside the house. Hey, housewives, y'all do work. Y'all work your asses off.
Yes.
Didn't have an outside job like their job. And my wife struggles with that now. That's kind of one of the arguments we get into occasionally is she gets the impression that I don't want her to work. I want her to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, no. I've had, like, I tell her, I was like, it's like, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's like, the most important job you have is being a mom. The most important job I have is being a dad.
Yeah.
But I've told her, and Harrison Butker, who's the kicker for the Chiefs, got all kinds of grief for this last summer whenever he was talking about going back to the trad wife.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I told my wife, and this is to any woman out there, and this is kind of a shot at men too. The most important job on the planet, man, woman, anything, is being a mother.
Yeah.
No man can ever will ever have a job as important as a mother has. Life ceases to exist if that job doesn't get done.
Yeah.
Like every other job, like we can live without farmers. Like, I mean, yeah, we like to think we're important. You can live without doctors. Life goes on without doctors, without lawyers, without the one job that we cannot see or continue to exist as a species is a mother. And my wife does work, and I'm happy for her to work. I've told her, like, we're probably in a position where if you, like, we'd have to change our lifestyle a little bit if you didn't. But so my wife doesn't usually listen to these. But I'm like, no, keep working. Like, if you want to work, and that's what makes you happy, and she is very driven in her career. But I was like, but just remember, I mean, like my daughter, for instance, in softball, she's in 5th grade. She's playing middle school ball. Our school plays, middle schoolers get to play at 5th grade.
Yeah.
I basically have 7 more years of this, which seems like a long time. But in reality, it's not. Like, she'll be 11 next month. In 7 years, she'll be an adult.
Yeah.
I remember when she turned 9, it kind of hit me. I was like, she's halfway there.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then there won't be none of this going to a ball tournament on the weekend. be like, oh shit, what do we do all weekend?
Yeah, then you'll be like, damn, I wish we were getting to go watch her play.
Which my son will still, he's 4 years younger than her, 3.5. So he'll still be, but then, yeah, I mean, basically by the time I'm 50, and heck, a lot of people have kids younger than I did. I didn't have kids till I was 30, but by the time I'm 50, I don't know what I'll do with all my free time. I mean, well, who knows if I'll still be here? You know, none of us are promised tomorrow, but yeah.
Well, you know, that's like with this week of spring break. Again, I had kind of told myself I was going to plant yesterday. You know, I think mentioned on the show I might try to plant Tuesday, which would have been yesterday. But it's about to be 34 degrees, so it's probably better that I waited anyways.
Tomorrow night might even be 32.
Yeah, and I think the beans probably would have been okay in the ground, but anyways,
they wouldn't have been up to.
It'd been 2 or 3 weeks, but my kids, I knew they were out on spring break, and they're my in-laws. They got a lake house, and see, in the summer they go to the lake. That's one thing, I don't go to the lake. Now people can give me grief. I'm just not a lake guy. I just don't like going, to be honest with you. But
you're more of a pond guy.
I would rather go to a pond. I would literally rather go to a pond. And they go to the lake, and my kids and wife and them go because that's what they've always liked to do. And that's fine. But this spring break, they asked if they could take them to the lake over spring break. And I told my wife, I was like, well, no, I want to hang out with my kids. Like, I don't want, because they were going to be gone all week. And she was like, well, you're going to be working. And I'm like, we're going to do some fun stuff. I said, I want to hang out with the kids. I said, Lord, they're 7. And I'm like, right now, I'm still like the man, at this age for the kids, like dad is the dude, you're the dude, and like, especially Levi, like, Emerson, she's a daddy's girl, and Levi just thinks I'm like the baddest man on the planet. And so, and DeSalvo, our good buddy, told me that one time. He was like, man, when your kids are little, he's like, you need to eat up the time with them because you're the man to them until they're like, I don't remember what age he said. He was like, when they get to about 12 to 13, the tides kind of start changing. You're not quite as cool.
Well, my brother had a statistic, and it'll scare the hell out of you. It was something like, I don't remember the exact figures at all, but it's like by the time your kids are like 10, you've already spent like something ridiculous, like 60% of the time on average you'll ever spend with them.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Because I mean, you think about it, once they're 18, I mean, assuming you don't have the whole like failure to launch thing where they,
yeah,
they just
the Peter Pan syndrome, never grow up,
that they refuse to leave the house. Like, yeah, and I'm fortunate, like I work with my dad every day, and so I spend more time with him. Now I'm in my 40s than a lot of people my age, see their parents. I mean, they may live across the country from them.
Yeah.
And you may not have their parents anymore. It was something super scary about how much the percentage of time you actually spend, face to face with your kids is gone by the time they're a certain age. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, well, tomorrow I'm taking them fishing. So I told my wife, and again, it's like beautiful. Well, it's too windy today.
It's supposed to be pretty windy tomorrow too.
It is, but
good luck to y'all.
But we're gonna go. I was like, you know what, we'll go and we'll just have a good time, anyways. And
you're fishing, you're not catching.
That's right, and that's what I tell them. I'm like, hey, that's why they don't call it catching. But that's what I just told Marcy that. I said, every year we get in a crunch and stress out. Every year I get the crop planted, and every year I get the crop harvested. Now I want to get it planted as early as possible. That's my goal, and this isn't setting me back. I mean, it's literally March 19th. Like I've never planted beans in March, and first week of April is kind of like prime for our area. But some things I did last year, and like my dad. This is where it's kind of nice. I mean, I am a separate operation. Like I'm by myself 99% of the time. And last year I was planting, and I had most of the time when I come in during planting time, everybody's asleep, and I go in, kiss the kids goodnight, go to bed. Well, last year, man, I had been running late a bunch of nights, and my wife cooked dinner, and I was still planting. I wanted to finish, and I planted till about 6 o'clock, and I went in and ate dinner with the kids and wife, and hung out and watched a little TV with them, and then they went to bed, and then I went back and got on the tractor and planted late. And I'm like, you can do that. I mean, that's something like, if I was running with Dad, he'd be like, that's dumb. He would have thought, just finish the job. But it's like, no, because that is time that I want. Like, even just sitting there at the table with them and eating dinner with them.
Yeah.
Man, that's stuff I like to. It's seasonal, like once planting time's over. But I realize things, and I know you've done the same. You start to notice things that your kids, they grow out of. Like, I remember my kids used to, when we tuck them in, this been a few years ago now, before they were really in school, we would tuck them in, and they would say, when we wake up, is it going to be playtime? And they would ask me that every single night, and I used to get a kick out of it. And I remember my wife and I were talking, and she was like, one night, they're just not going to ask us that anymore, because we would laugh about it like every night. I'm like, half the time they would ask us that when they started school, and we'd be like, no, when you wake up, you got school tomorrow. And they don't ask that anymore. And like, I think about things like that. So I'm like, no, the crops, I am a farmer, but my family certainly comes before my career. Because if I died today, somebody else would work the ground. Like, another guy he'd rent the ground out or something. Like, the crops and land's going to continue on. So my lack of me would be felt more in my family than it would in the farm. So that's kind of how I feel. That was our deep father philosophy there. Let's see. I'm going to save this one because you got to go meet them.
I'm still good right now, I think. I hadn't got a call from a truck driver yet that he's on the way. So
okay, well, let me see. Let me find that one. We got time. We'll do one more. Oh crap, where did it go? Okay, here we go. This comes from Josh. Josh says, hey guys, love the podcast and your YouTube channels. I'm a 35-year-old farmer. Farm with my dad in Iowa, about 60 miles from Omaha, Nebraska, where Bobby Lee went for the College World Series.
Yep.
Okay. We raise corn and soybeans. We also buy feeder pigs and finish them in hoop barns for a niche company based here in Iowa. There you go. That's thinking outside the box there a little bit. I just recently got engaged, and the reality of future finances are setting in. Up until now, the majority of my money has gone into the farming operation. Now, with planning a wedding and hopefully starting a family one day, do you guys have any advice on how to afford or budget all the major family expenses? I have the land, but my little old farmhouse isn't going to be sufficient for long. Thanks, guys, and I look forward to a new episode every Friday. All right. I'll tell you, man, this is, if I've learned anything, now you didn't say anything in there about being, I don't think you say anything about his religion, but this is where, man, I am a believer. I've said before, we talk about farmers, we take risks, we're gamblers, it's just what we do for a living. But man, I just basically, you obviously want a budget. You sit down, you create a budget, and from a family perspective, you say, okay, now my wife, I don't know, I'm assuming your fiance, she works, and if she does, obviously take in her account hers. Like Marcy, she buys a lot of the groceries. I cover the majority of our expenses. But now she does groceries and certain things. But man, I would sit down and budget, like set up what kind of lifestyle do you want to live, get an idea of like, okay, this is probably what we're going to spend on a month, and you can factor that, you can break it down versus both of y'all's income. Farming, you're gonna make a projected cash flow. I always do. Every year I create a projected cash flow, and I can say, all right, I'm gonna make this much or that much. And what I would do right now when I do it, I'm coming up negative, so I just don't even hardly do it right now because my projected cash flow is crap. But in the normal good times, I would do my projected cash flow, and I would take my profit that I have, and I would split out a chunk of that profit, and I would put it actually into savings, and then we could draw from there. Like I liked to build up I was a big savings builder is what I wanted to do. And I still enjoyed myself. I mean, hell, I'm a damn gun addict, but like, you know, you still enjoy yourself, but put money back, because farming, if I've learned anything from farming, it's that there's really not much security in farming. And if you farm long enough, you're gonna take a hit. So you need to build up a pretty good stockpile of savings if you can. And that's kind of what I would say on that. There was, let's see, on the, where I was going with the religion aspect is, man, I'm a believer. Every year, you know, we're faithful attenders of our church, and you know, I'm a believer in tithing to your church, and I'm a believer that God will provide, and that's what this year especially, like I told somebody the other day, I was like, man, we're literally farming on a prayer, and that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm just gonna farm, and God's not failed me yet, and so I just am praying, you know, God, pray that you would allow, and I'm not afraid to pray for prosperity. You know, I'm not like, God, please just help me to survive. I'm like, God, you know, help us to prosper. You know, we want to prosper this year. I want to prosper because I want to, you know, you pray for blessings on yourself so that you can then bless others with those blessings. That's kind of how I look at it. So my advice is create a good cash flow using both your incomes, and base the lifestyle of your expenses that you're going to have, and pray. I mean, that's really what I would say.
Yeah, I think all that's good advice. I'm in a different situation, so I would say, yeah, have an off-farm job.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Or you could just get an off-farm job. Yeah.
Yeah. Farm on the side, which, you know, the whole hobby farmer tag, like I do not consider myself a hobby farmer. You know, and there's nothing wrong with hobby farming, you know, but I think of a hobby farm as somebody, you know.
Like 10 cows?
Yeah. I mean, man, I don't even have that many, you know. Yeah, they got a couple cows, you know. I mean, yeah, it's a farm. Hell,
I don't even know, 10 cows. That's still a pretty decent herd to mess with.
You've got
like 2.
You know, you've got 3 or 4 cows. You know, you got 6 acres there. You know, just outside of town, and you got a few chickens. Nothing wrong with that.
No,
at all. You know,
if
you've got
the
a
life.
small, you know, little homestead like that, you could. I mean, especially you could buy some feeder steers and feed them out on confinement to finish for freezer beef, or do the same with hogs and chickens, and you could have a pretty, you know, decent little operation for some cash flow. But I won't say thankfully, but yeah, my situation is we don't have to rely on the farm to pay the bills, and you just, you know, obviously we hope the farm doesn't lose a huge chunk of money, where then I have to start robbing from my other income to support the farm. Having an off-farm job, I'm fortunate to where the farm pays for itself, and I just keep adding and improving equipment, and, you know, not often that we're buying more land or anything, but my farm finances stay all to themselves.
Yeah,
just as long as it keeps paying for itself, and you know, and I do pay for some fun stuff out of it. You know, if I'm, you know, a lot of times it's selfishly for me. You know, I like going on these hunting trips and stuff, which I don't. It allows me to not take out of, you know, my money I bring home from my day job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's, man. You know, you're. I would go ahead and have that chat with your wife or your future wife. You're a full-time farmer. It sounds like you're a full-time farmer. There's really not a lot of safety and security in farming. My wife and I had that conversation this year, like pretty seriously. I was like, you know, look, this is what I do. You know, I'm a farmer. And she was like, you're a farmer. And it's like, even these huge guys, the big powerhouse operations, we talked about this, those guys are a couple of bad years in a row away from going broke. So, I mean, there's not a lot of security in this line of work. I mean, we are gamblers, and you're rolling the dice. And that's what I say. You roll the dice every year. Again, you just pray that you get another run every year. And so, you know, explain that to your future spouse, like, hey, you know, this is a risky life, but I think that it's worth the risk.
Well, and like, again, I'm different because, I already had an off-farm job, got into farming, I've always been in farming, but kind of afterwards. But, you might have that conversation where, or if things do get tight, we have a bad year or two in a row, I'd be willing to take maybe an off-farm role.
Yeah.
Not quit farming altogether, but say, all right, time's getting tough. I'm going to need to take a job, at the, local equipment dealer or somewhere, maybe even still within ag, because you've obviously got a lot of expertise there to supplement and help pull us through. And then things kind of turn around and we realize, all right, we're big enough and busy enough on the farm that I really,
need to be back.
Maybe need to back on the farm just full time. So
yeah,
because I know a lot of guys like that. Yeah, they, maybe their dad never did work off the farm, but for them to be able to support their job, but they still want to farm too, that they kind of do the split thing.
Yep, for sure. All right, Josh, appreciate it, man. Good luck on the life advancement. That's awesome, man. All right, let's see. We got one left. Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump on it real quick. This is hold on, is that's not the same Josh? We got another Josh. Make sure that's not the same Josh. No, it's not.
Josh, such a common name.
Yeah, we got Josh. Thanks for that other question, Josh. And now we got a different Josh. Josh writes in, hello guys, I was doing some YouTube research on mixing sorghum, Sudan grass, and sun hemp, and I came across an older video of Bobby Lee planting this mixture.
I'll say that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. How does the two plants work together? Does the sorghum grow too fast and choke the sun hemp out? We plant sorghum Sudan grass after wheat harvest to bale and wrap, and I thought it would be good to mix something in with the sorghum Sudan grass. I am also considering mixing oats in this year and maybe get a third cutting in November after the sorghum gets frosted out. We are in Pennsylvania. Thanks for the podcast. I enjoy every episode. Appreciate it, Josh.
So I did plant that mixture one year. Apparently in some areas, that in the seed company I was going through, really like that. Adding the legume in with your grass. I ended up with a terrible stand of the sun hemp, and so I can't. And we only did it that one year. We had a few, but it's like any grazing combination, or you could be haying it too, where you try to get that synergistic relationship, kind of like we talked with Dustin last week, where your legumes help fix some nitrogen, put it in the ground that your grasses could then use. I guess I didn't like it too much, but I just got away from doing summer annuals, period. If I was already doing summer annuals and doing a sorghum Sudan grass or millet or anything like that, I'm not an expert by any means, but adding a legume of some kind, a warm season, like a sun hemp or I'm trying to even think what else, because that's the other thing. A lot of your clovers and all are more cool season. I can't remember. You could probably do some different peas that would do well during the warm season. But even though I have done it, and because that's such a specific mixture, my YouTube video may have come up actually when you search that, but we didn't end up with enough sun hemp in the stand to really even evaluate it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, man, keep experimenting.
A unique legume that a lot of people hadn't heard of. So
and like I said,
you very familiar with sun hemp?
No.
You do no kind of hemp, right?
No, I almost did some hemp one year. Talked to the guy. Brick was the guy's name that I dealt with at UT Ag. Made me think of Anchorman. Remember Brick Tamlin? Brick Tamlin. No, I've never done it. Never done the hemp. But what do they make cocaine out of? That's the coca plant.
Yeah, I think it's coca plant.
Yeah, I thought about planting some of that, but I think it might be tropical climate.
Yeah, as I sit here and stare at our globe, Colombia, it's right there on the equator. I don't know, and I don't know how long the growing season is. Well, because in all seriousness, they do bust marijuana grows around here.
Oh yeah, we had the cops called on us one time.
I've not heard this story.
Have you not heard this?
I don't think I have. You start telling it, that may come back to me. But.
Yeah, it's been probably 10 years ago. On Walkerfield Road, that ground we work out there was beans out there one year, and Dad called me, and he said, "Hey, can you run out there and meet a county deputy?" And I said, "Yeah, for what?" And he said, "They said we got marijuana growing out there." And I said, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, somebody apparently called the cops and said we were growing marijuana. Like a person had driven by and was like, they got marijuana out there." And so I was like, all right.
So did they think like the entire field was marijuana?
No, it is giant ragweed.
Okay.
Now, giant ragweed, for people who don't know, it has a distinct leaf pattern. And an imbecile.
It's a broad leaf, but it's like,
well, I was going to say an imbecile would think that it might be marijuana.
Like I say, I have not looked at a lot of marijuana plants up close, but I've seen pictures. Obviously, we all have.
Well,
I
had to wade out there. I met the cop out there, and he was like, I told him, I said, "Man, that's giant ragweed." I was like, that's just weed. Like, that's not marijuana.
It's weed.
It's literally weed. Yeah, that's and he was like, he started laughing. He was like, "Well," he said, "I know." He said, "But man, I do gotta." He said, "Is there any way you can go get it and like give me some so that I can?"
I would have called those people back and said, like, damn Karens out there.
And and it tripped me out because it was on the side of the road. Like, I had to walk through the beans, but it was on a spot that you could see, and it made me think too. It's like, well, you moron! If I was gonna plant a marijuana patch, I sure as hell wouldn't put it right there on the side of the road.
Because I mean, obviously they might not know that farm like we do, but like, there's a billion places you could plant on that farm where you don't see it from the road.
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, I had to walk out there and like get it.
It kind of reminds me. A buddy of mine was telling me a story last week. Now I'll keep him anonymous, but I was kind of joking with his son, which his son's probably 8, maybe 9.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, when you gonna be able to help check cows? You know, you can drive up here for your dad. You don't have to do it." He's like, "Well, after last fall and our run in with the law, not for a while."
Okay.
And they were moving a cotton picker. And he had a son following him in the service truck.
They got pulled over.
Well, they were in an area kind of that's really blown up.
Oh, gosh.
You know, it's more suburbs.
Yeah.
Some Karen, I mean, the only way to describe this person, called in and said there was a kid driving a truck and they were fishtailing all over the road. He was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm doing 20 miles an hour down the road in a cotton picker that's literally taking up the entire road."
Yes.
Like he's right behind me. Like nothing, but like the cops kind of wanted to make a big, because he was like, "All right, look, we'll just leave the truck here. He can jump on the picker with me. We'll get."
So
home.
the cops pulled him over.
Oh yeah, and they were like, "Oh no, this is like child endangerment. You're not getting off that easy." And
what?
And so it turned into like and they ended up, you know, and thankfully, you know, a smaller community, you know. It's really grown up, unfortunately, and I'm sure it's some asshole that moved here from somewhere else that doesn't understand. And he's like, "Look, the kid shouldn't have been driving. I admitted that, but like we were in a pinch." And but it kind of turned out, you know, that because of, you know, they ended up talking with one of the higher ups. You know, I'll keep things as anonymous as I can, and they were kind of laughing about it. He's like, "No, man, I apologize." He's like, "Oh, it's all right." You know, he's like, "Yes, these asshole outsiders moving in here." But yeah, like that like, are you kidding me? Like, we're growing marijuana on the side of the freaking road.
Well, that's
People, I think, you know, obviously people do grow it outside some around here, I guess, because you hear of people finding it. Like, I've heard people finding it on farms.
Yeah.
Where somebody had, like...
Oh, they'll fly, like, I think they fly, like, helicopters over looking.
But I think a lot of, like, what's grown, especially for, like, the states that are legalized, a lot of that's grown, like, in greenhouses, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, because it's got to be very particular. You know, like, when I was looking and doing...
Well, obviously, it's extremely valuable, so you probably want to just... Yeah, you'd probably want to have it indoors, and also you got to have pretty good security.
Yeah,
especially if you're growing it legally. I'm sure the regulations you got to jump through would be ridiculous.
It was. That was one of the things that stopped me, because I was gonna, like I said, now this was hemp.
Even for hemp, you had a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, it was a lot of legal jumps, legal things, and and there was a ton of risk.
Even though there's no, like, it's a totally legal thing to grow, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it has to. It's
like,
so variable. If the soil quality, the soil can raise the THC levels. So the THC.
Oh, so it was something that had like really, really, really low THC.
0.03% or less THC. So it almost had none. And if they came out, they would check it. They could check it throughout the year, and like just basically, I think if the pH level was a little off on your soil type, it could elevate that THC level.
And if you terminate it,
they would destroy the whole crop. Like, and I had heard of guys losing like a bunch of money because they came in and just destroyed the whole field. So, I mean, if it was like, if they checked it and it was 0.07%, they were going to destroy the whole crop. Which there was that recent thing. A lot of the little head shops around here in Tennessee got busted. Them Delta 9s and stuff they were selling. They were supposed to be 0.03% or something of THC. They were like 70% THC. People were taking them and getting like super smashed.
I might know some.
I was going to say, I don't know that Bobby Lee would know anybody that's had that happen to him before. But yeah, they were getting smoked, and a kid apparently got some, and like it messed him up. So yeah, man, it is. It's just crazy. It's a lot of idiots, a lot of city slickers. Is kind of what's happened.
Well, yeah, that whole deal, and like my buddy was like, he's like, no, he should not have been driving the truck. But he's like, but hell, I remember our dads have told stories where when they used to have alfalfa down in the river bottom, they were like, which the kid was driving a pickup. They were driving an old
Jeep,
Ford tractors.
Oh yeah.
Tell a story about which that's why we need to have them on the podcast. I believe my dad, which there's 5 years difference between them.
Yeah.
My dad must have been like 10, and your dad would have been 5, and he was driving a tractor, but he couldn't really reach the clutch good, and he couldn't stop and ran through a gate. The version I remember is, he said your dad just laughed. He thought it was the most hilarious thing ever.
As he plowed through the gate.
Plowed through a gate because he couldn't reach the clutch to get the tractor stopped. But,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it was nothing. Which that was the funny other thing too. He's like, if his son had been on the picker, they couldn't have said a word to him.
Oh really?
And this picker, is literally taking up the
It's a monstrous
entire road.
Yeah.
Far more that could go wrong there than him driving them. Just a
service
one-ton
truck
pickup. Yeah. But because that's a street legal vehicle, you have to have a license to be able to drive it. Like, how much sense does that make? Which I understand. I don't want them to start requiring a license for you to have to drive farm equipment down the road.
Yeah.
But
man,
I don't know what the if you make it where if a kid's driving a truck for farm purposes, it's legal even at 8 or 9 years old.
I can remember driving that C65 out here, that blue and white Chevy truck, and it had the red trailer gooseneck on it, and we had it freaking loaded with hay. I was probably 14. That was kind of my first like baptism by fire. I think around 14 years old, I had to drive it from here just down to Double Bridge's shed, but it had a high-low split axle, and I don't remember. It was like a 10-speed in that thing, but I just remember, man, I drove like Dad's old maroon truck and stuff on the road, just helping him move stuff. But I just remember driving that truck, and Dad was like, "Hey, take that down to Double Bridges." And I mean, man, we had that thing stacked up with hay. And he said, and I told him, I said, "Well, I don't know how to split the gears. I didn't know how to split axles yet." And he was like, "Just you figure it out. You get to the end, you split to the high side and start over." So I was like, "All right." And so I remember driving it, which I loved driving it because it had rusted out glass packs on it.
So it was loud.
Yep, and it's got a crate 427 motor, and man, I was doing good, man. I was rocking and rolling, and got to the high side, split to the high axle, got over in the high side. Well, then I had to slow down, and I couldn't split back to the low, so I ended up having to drive it the whole way on the high side axle, and like taking off down there at the bridge to turn. It was like, oh, it's like screaming, trying to do like 5 miles an hour because I'm in like 6th gear taking off. But yeah, man, it's just a different world. It is.
Yeah.
So
lots of Karens out there.
It is a lot of Karens. The place
that is a real major issue, not just for weed and
the place I'm gonna spray at. Not like
Oh yeah, shit like that. Because they come in and built houses in farm country, and then people are like, yeah.
There is an old
Keith talked about it with doing the crop.
Yep.
Doing the aerial application.
Oh
so,
yeah.
People are just assholes.
There's a bastard that videos me every year over here in this neighborhood. He will walk out.
Are you ever tempted just
let my boom swing out?
Well, or just I assumed you have like auto steer and all going, like just drop your pants and just full moon.
I should do that. I should.
I would love it if that video made it to social media.
You've given me a great idea.
Look at this asshole farmer.
Yeah, dude, you have given me a great idea. Yeah,
it's like the people, and again, I'm not like the pro cop, Blue Lives Matter, but it's like the people who are like filming the cops, and I know it's perfectly within their rights, but it's like. And I've had cops be dickheads to me, but I've never once been like, I'm going to film you.
And say, am I being detained? Am I being detained?
Because it's my right. I'm going to, like, and it's well within his right to film you, but just like, what a weirdo.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, no, I might moon that guy. You have given me a great idea. If he videos me this time, I'm going to moon the shit out of that guy.
If he happens to be listening, please put that on social media and tag us.
You guys are hearing it right now. I swear. If I go out there and I'm spraying and it'll be...
Well, it keep running even if you get up out of the seat.
Yeah, the boom height will quit working, but the auto steer will go at least for a little while. Like, and I could do it quick. I mean, as long as I get back in the seat. Like, it might throw an alarm, but it won't quit spraying or nothing. So I can hold it and like...
Or you just need to get somebody to ride with you.
Yeah, just let me moon that guy. Yeah, it's the same guy that picked up all the corn cobs and brought them to me. That blew in his yard.
Oh, when you were shelling?
Yeah, he's a dick. I mean, he is. He's obviously a retired guy and has nothing better to do with his time.
Get off my lawn.
Yep. And so, I'm going to moon that bastard if he videos me. So, y'all have heard it here. Now, and that'll be in about 2 days, most likely. But if you don't video me, I won't moon him.
Yeah, flipping the bird's too easy, and you probably won't be able to see.
Yeah, mooning is like, that's a lot more personal. Yeah. Like, I had to take the time to undo my belt and pull my pants down.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, we need you guys to leave us a rating and review. Comment below what you thought of the episode, what you'd like for us to talk about next. And guys, do go leave those rating and reviews because we are going to gear up for a pretty bad to the bone giveaway. We're due. And what else I need to do?
Check out agzaga.com. Use the discount code because they're always running good deals, but everything's 10% off.
Yep.
When you use that discount code, Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word. Yep. Get stocked up. Get everything you need.
Do it. All right, guys. We'll catch y'all next week.